What up? What up, y'all? How's everybody doing out there? Sorry, I'm just celebrating my successes real quick. Let me get this up. There we go. All right. Um, Maybe I should have switched the order on this real fast because here's the thing. WNBA's at the break. We're going to get into the All-Star game. Absolutely. 1000%. What an All-Star game it was. But I have just decided because I'm a huge FIBA basketball fan. I'm a basketball fan my whole life. In this break, Olympic break, I'm going to be covering both the men's and the women's United States Olympic basketball teams. It makes sense. Obviously, there won't be WNBA basketball. There won't be Caitlin Clark basketball, Angel Reese basketball, Arike Ogunbowale basketball during this time period. So I will be covering the U.S. men's and women's national teams during this period, at least here. Obviously, I'll be covering the women's fast break on SI. Check the link in the bio. I have the link, I think, to my mid-season awards, or it's past mid-season, but Olympic break awards in the bio below if you want to check that out. You can also sign up to play fantasy football against me in the bio below. And I know I'm pointing at this lower third banner, but I'm excited to talk about LeBron James quick before we get into what happened at the WNBA All-Star Game over the weekend. Because when you look at what this man is doing in the Olympics, technically not the Olympics yet, but what is the warm-up to the Olympics, it is something to behold. We have never seen any athlete do what LeBron's doing right now. He is the greatest American athlete of all time in my mind. With American arrogance, that would make me call him the greatest athlete of all time. He is playing a sport that is more physically demanding than other sports when it comes to aging, right? Like, you could be a pitcher and just throw the ball. You can even be a quarterback like Tom Brady, where you're processing, you're making decisions, you're doing things like that at the line of scrimmage. And, you're not running away. You're not running up and down the floor. You're not doing the things that LeBron James is doing at this age. And I have the utmost respect for international basketball. I'm so tired of people online complaining and crying about the level of, the competitiveness of these games. Like they just came out of a chamber from 1992. I mean, the 92 Dream Team has this effect on people. Tiger Woods has this effect on people. Mike Tyson has this effect on people. Michael Jordan too, where like they cannot leave the time period from which they saw to get to the time period from where we are. 1992 was 30 plus years of basketball evolution ago. 30 plus years. It's a completely different sport at this point. Just the explosion of the three-point shot alone has changed the complete dynamics of the game. It's not fair. It's not said with disrespect to the Dream Team neither, because those were the greatest players of their time. From a generational, consequential standpoint, the Dream Team is the best assemblage of talent ever put together. Right? Like, you're talking about a level of talent put together for the Dream Team that transcended just how good they were. The reason we're talking about these other teams internationally right now is because of what the Dream Team did then, putting basketball on the map, making it the second biggest sport in the world to soccer. But my goodness, people really think a team from 1992 is just going to show up and the Dream Team would get smoked by that German team that played the U.S. today. You're talking about a squad over there. By the way, the idea that the NBA is so much better than the Euro leagues, I think, is out the window. I don't think it's that much of a gap. And obviously, the NBA is composed of a huge portion of international players at this point. A massive portion of international players at this point. I mean, Luka and Giannis Antetokounmpo and, all the other players who come from overseas and Victor Wembanyama wind up dominating. And I don't care what people think about what I say about the draft. Like, it's the truth. The volume of threes. How do you make up for that freaking math problem? It's a different sport. But the crazy part of it is that LeBron James started in 2004 in the Olympics, that is. His rookie year was 03-04, I believe. In the 2004 Olympics, I remember I was living uptown in New York at the time. Okay? I'm living uptown in New York at the time. It was the first apartment I lived in. Second apartment I lived in for 8 years. Shouts to Justice, Power, Boo, R.I.P. Boo, Ish, everybody else I hung out with in that crew. That was there. I was Robbie B in that apartment. But right before that, for 3 months, I lived in an apartment on 109th in Amsterdam. And the first person I ever introduced my parents to was named Half Pound. He was the dude that was on the stoop that I would hang out with. And, that's what I knew him by, Half Pound. I wonder what his profession was. And, my parents came into town to meet me, but nonetheless, I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment up there where my roommate was a mime. Or I had 1 bedroom in an apartment up there where my roommate was a mime. He was like a Hamptons mime or something, some fancy mime. I only tell this to set the context because my bedroom was so small that I had to put the TV on the outside of the bedroom in order to watch it. Like, it wouldn't fit on the inside. This was before flat screens, or at least before I could afford a flat screen at the time. And I vividly remember watching the Olympics in 2004. I vividly remember it. And it was Larry Brown coaching. LeBron James was on that team. He didn't play enough. He was, in my opinion, already the best player on that team, or at least the one who could have had the best impact. I mean, Tim Duncan was on that team. Allen Iverson was on that team. Marbury, I just remember, I love Richard Jefferson as an announcer, but I just remember him missing corner 3 after corner 3, and I'm screaming at the television, put LeBron James in the freaking game. Dwayne Wade, too. Carmelo to a lesser extent, but definitely LeBron and Wade. And he didn't. And Carlos Arroyo just torched us. And Puerto Rico beat the U.S. I think that U.S. team might have finished bronze. Whatever, they didn't win, which led to the Redeem Team. And I'm sure people have seen the documentary by now. But the Redeem Team, we put all this energy into getting our licks back and forming this team to go and compete. And the Redeem Team won, as they should have. But they went to the end of the wire, down the wire with Spain in the gold medal game. So we put all of our energy and resources in redeeming ourselves and still had a tight one with Spain in the gold medal game. That's 2008. 2012, we had a really stacked squad. But even in the last Olympics, the last Olympic Games, that team lost to Nigeria in a friendly. It wasn't until Drew Holiday came over. Drew Holiday came over after the finals. He and Devin Booker, I believe, came over from the finals because it was the Suns and the Bucks. And Damian Lillard was hurt in the last Olympics. And once Holiday took Lillard's spot, the U.S. team got under control. Kevin Durant was the top player there. Kevin Durant has been the top player in several Olympics, to be frank. And after that, it was him, Tatum, and Holiday, I think, were the top 3 players on that team. Nonetheless, that team lost I think more than once. And yes, they won the gold, but it was not easy. Last summer, I watched the FIBA World Cup because I like FIBA basketball better than I like NBA basketball. I think it's a better product. because they don't reward foul merchants. It disgusts me. I want to throw up in my mouth watching the NBA sometimes because of the blatant disrespect for the game that is allowed and to thrive and be rewarded. There are numerous star players who do not try to score. They try to get a foul, and it's garbage. It disgusts me. I hate it. And I want to see that carried over from FIBA to the NBA. It's one of my greatest wishes. I wish the NBA was officiated like FIBA is. But you see the difference in some of the players. Like, I'm not taking a shot at a specific player here, please. I'm just using it as an example. But everybody lost their mind over Halliburton being on this team over Brunson. Halliburton was a better player than Brunson last summer for this team. Because, one, Brunson is a player who thrives when he's the center of everything and makes everything go. He's been the engine for the Knicks. He's been excellent. But he's also a bit of a foul merchant, too. And they didn't reward him for that last summer versus Halliburton, who was distributing and finding players. I mean, I think the two guys from this squad that are over there now are Halliburton and Edwards. And then that team lost, by the way, last year. The U.S. team lost last year to Germany, who we barely beat today. So I really can't stand it when I continue to read online all these negative comments about these other teams, these other countries who have improved and are just good. The German basketball team is good. It has nothing to do with whether the U.S. team is struggling or whether the U.S. team is lazy or whether the German team is good. Dennis Schroeder is excellent internationally, always has been. The Wagner twins are tough to deal with. Tice is a real player. They can shoot the ball. They've got continuity. This U.S. team, I could argue, from top to bottom, is the most talented it's ever been. Top to bottom. Versatility-wise, the way they can play defense with Davis and Bam and that squadron. So I think it needs to be understood, like, it's just not 1992 anymore. Hell, it's not, 2004 was not 1992 anymore. But one thing that is the same from 2004 to now is LeBron James. You could make an argument for Luka, Jokic, right? They're not in that game. But boy, oh boy, if you were telling me my life depended on one player winning one basketball game, I'm still taking LeBron James. My life depends on one player winning one basketball game. I'm taking LeBron James. And you could see how the team deferred to him in that game. You could see how they realized what they were in for. Who the man is. That's the other best players in the world. Realizing who the man is. This is the German coach realizing who the man is.
First quarter, they had us back on our heels. We had a tough first quarter. I thought we regrouped some in the second quarter. I thought the third quarter we played our best basketball. We played with good tempo. And, somebody named LeBron James made some pretty good plays at the end.
That's all there is to it. Somebody named LeBron James made some pretty good plays at the end. And he's going to be the flag bearer at the Olympics. I've said what I got to say. That man's the best athlete I ever watched in my life. And I've had some people comment to me on Caitlin Clark, right? And they say, like, you're on the Caitlin Clark bandwagon. You're damn right I am. You're damn right. I am on the Caitlin Clark bandwagon, 1,000%. Just like I was on the LeBron James bandwagon. Do you know why? Because they are generational. Because I like basketball. I grew up playing basketball. I coach basketball now. I consume basketball. I've covered basketball professionally for 20-something years. LeBron James is the best basketball player I have ever watched. Caitlin Clark is the best female basketball player I've ever seen. En route to becoming that on the professional level, she has to prove herself there over a longer period of time. But it's just like when I watched LeBron, I was in college. I was at University of Maryland. There was a bar called the Santa Fe Cafe. I don't know if it's still there, but I remember all the ESPN heads were like, "This guy's going to be the greatest guy of all time," and I was like, I had my cynical college cap on, and I'm like, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna watch this, and I'm gonna prove y'all wrong. I'm gonna nitpick him. And I watched, and I was like, nope, because two things were apparent in watching LeBron for a second. He was the most genetically gifted individual ever, which helps, and he was a basketball genius. You could see those two things. So if you're the most genetically gifted basketball player ever, and you're a basketball genius, there's only one thing you need to complete that. Just one thing. And that is the work ethic. And LeBron James has that work ethic also. And the same thing goes with Caitlin, right? Like, my old boss, shouts to Matt Gothard, the Casino King. You can follow his accounts. He's an influencer, I guess, is the job title nowadays. I don't know. But he does casino-based content and crushes it. But he's from like Minnesota or some place. I don't know. You know, like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not an Iowa guy. Like, it's so funny because I get criticized for being I've never been to Iowa. I could barely tell you anything about Iowa. But I remember him telling me when I was working at SI, you got to do a video on this Caitlin Clark girl. You got to check her out. And I watched her play, and I was like, holy shit. You know, like, that was it. It wasn't no more deep than that, right? It wasn't no more deep than that. And I've now followed her. And look, LeBron is closer to the end than he is to the beginning. I got my job at SI because of a speech I did on LeBron, because of a take I did on LeBron. It was in 2017. I did a Hot 97 interview off it with my guy Peter Rosenberg and Ebro in the morning, where it started with a Jay-Z quote. You know, like, it was like the speech I was meant to give. It did 8 million views on Facebook alone. Hove got flow, though he's no big in Pac, but he's close. How am I supposed to win when you got me chasing ghosts? And that's the feeling that LeBron James must have chasing Michael Jordan in this myth of Michael Jordan. Right? I wrote it on this little colored chair, like green chair, in a crib, as my wife was trying to get me to clean something upstairs. I was like, I have to write because they told me to write an essay. Gene Cherry, my guy over there, I guess they had never heard anybody say that as authoritatively as I said it at the time. And first time I ever read off a teleprompter, one take, hoved it, boom, smash. And then, you know, something similar has happened in my coverage of Caitlin Clark here, where once I started to talk about Caitlin Clark, everything started to go up. I mean, hell, this show, 2 million YouTube views last month for this show. 2 million page views for Women's Fast Break on SI, or close to it, right? You know, well over 1 million. I got to check the updated numbers. Significantly more than 1 million in the first month of operation. Click the link in the description, please. If you want to play against me in fantasy football, click that too. We can have some fun. We got to do a members-only event and everything like that. I just did a reel yesterday. 1.4 million views on the WNBA All-Star Game, which was amazing. The WNBA All-Star Game was so fun to watch. It put the NBA All-Star Game to shame with the competitiveness. And it certainly did make you wonder, you know, did they bring the right players to Paris? Not even just Caitlin, but Arike Ogunbowale and Angel Reese and Nneka Ogwumike and Alicia Gray. I'll tell you dead ass, the best guards in the world play for Team WNBA, not Team USA. Dead ass. Like there's no competition. The USA guards look washed. I've seen Kelsey Plum stirred and souffled so many different ways this season. You know, Sabrina got cooked by. Sabrina's a good player. She got cooked by Caitlin in that game. And I think you saw like that future on. You know, I liked Arike's one of those players, right? Like when it's going for her, she's gonna be tough. She can have the off nights, but when she got it going, it's gonna be tough. And it was obviously tough. She made it a bad night for them. And then I think everybody was sort of wowed by Caitlin's passing. You know, when you're on the floor with her, the way it pops, it's like, oh, I think even Angel was. You know, like I saw Angel let her guard down more than I've seen her let her guard down ever over that weekend. Even the way she was like smiling and talking about Clark and being ready and playing in the Olympics together in 2028. And you saw the value that Angel brings on the court too, especially like when the court spread a little bit. Like the court was spread and Caitlin didn't turn the ball over, right? Because she's got elite level teammates everywhere. They focused the defense on her, but it's tough. And she just pushed the pace. She tired those girls out with the pace, like, you know, and when you're playing in the floor spread like that and you're not needing to be fed, Angel is cleaning up and she's running the floor in that game. And she has special rebounding instincts. You know, so that was a huge win for women's basketball and the WNBA because it shows you where they're going forward. Now, we'll see how this Olympic squad does. This run, they should win. I'm not rooting against them or anything like that. But it is a bummer. I'm sorry. People could say get over it, and I know Caitlin needs the break. It is a freaking bummer. The most exciting players in women's basketball are not playing for the Olympic team. It's a bummer. I'm sorry. But in the future going forward, it's going to be cool to see because that team is going to have aura. It's going to have aura when it's Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Arike Ogwumike and Paige Beckers and Alicia Gray and, you know, all those other women getting off the freaking plane. What a night that was. What a weekend that was. All right. I think I've said what I had to say. Let me get to you guys in the chat now. Got some super chats from my guys. AJ back in the house. Hey, family. It's good to be back in the States. Miss chatting with you. WNBA All-Star Game was very entertaining. That it was. Best All-Star Game in sports, right? I mean, the format, the competitiveness. Kevin says Braun, the athlete with the most haters all time. It's like Caitlin in a way. That's how I've compared Caitlin to Michael Jordan and LeBron James because for two reasons. She's Michael Jordan, she's Tiger Woods in the sense of like the change for a sport, right? Like and attention to a sport, which is the same as Michael Jordan. So I'm going to use Michael Jordan because it's basketball. She's Michael Jordan in shifting the way a sport is viewed by a generation. And she's LeBron James in being an attention magnet. Because ever since LeBron went to Miami in 2010, people have talked about him, discussed him every which way, every day. And obviously the same's been true for Caitlin in her short career. Kevin says WNBA All-Star Game, greater than Pro Bowl, MLB All-Star Game. Yeah. Yeah. That was fun. That was everything it could be hyped up to be. Now we got a nice little break, and then when we get back, it's gonna be on again. It's gonna be on again. All right, let me see. Let me get to the rest of the chat here. I think we have a big Twitter audience today. Good YouTube audience too. Good audience all around. As I've said, guys, with these streams, just in case you haven't caught, if you see one scheduled, that means one's coming. If you don't see one scheduled, it means there's not one that day. Not on a specific regular schedule anymore. That was to launch the show, but I will do them frequently. Not like, not once a week, more than once a week. Let's put it that way. Vadim says echo chamber. I don't even know what that means. What are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about the Olympic team. Sean, LeBron James carrying the flag at the Olympics, so deserved. The first American male basketball player to carry the flag at the Olympics. Yep. Michael LeBlanc, Robin, Tom Brady at 45 was at risk more than LeBron. Yeah, to getting tackled by someone. It's a different sport. But he didn't have to do physically what LeBron had to do. Tom Brady took two-step drop and threw the ball. He didn't do anything else. Two-step drop, threw the ball. And trust me, Tom Brady is unbelievable. But he didn't do anything else other than that. LeBron is having to play defense, having to move laterally, having to run up and down the court. It's just basketball requires more athleticism than any other sport. And particularly like a specific position like quarterback. Tom Brady was never Lamar Jackson, right? So was he at risk? Sure. Matt, I don't care. I'm not a ring counter. It's this. If that's the case, you want a ring count? Bill Russell's better than Michael Jordan. Prove otherwise. Better. Michael Jordan has no argument against Bill Russell. He's got almost twice as many rings, in fact, Russell does to Jordan. So until Jordan can get to 11 rings, you can't consider Jordan in the GOAT debate. Ed Van Schleck, it's also the rules. The NBA players get way too soft after just playing some years in the NBA. The rules for World Cup and Olympics are more fitting for the Euro players who play hard all the time. Well, yes, I've said it. I prefer the way that FIBA is officiated to the way that the NBA is officiated. Prefer it. Angel Reese was amazing in the All-Star Game, Chief. She had a great game. I was very happy with Angel's performance. She was impressive. Angel is a superstar. Angel is a crossover star in a way that can't be taught. And then she's a darn good, valuable basketball player. So, yeah. I'm with you there. Built hands-on. Big Rob, I see you. Do you speak on boxing? When it's appropriate, I don't think Mike Tyson should fight Jake Paul. How about that? I think, Mike Tyson's like the U.S. Dream Team where people are still like attached to their nostalgia. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out came out 40 years ago. The Hangover, where he was already retired for a minute, came out 15 years ago. He got flipped off by Stone Cold Steve Austin 20 years ago. And then he was losing to bums in the early 2000s. I just don't think a 57-year-old man should be. But boxing is so broken because there's no they. There's no governing body of boxing. That's the problem. I went to a lot of big fights in Vegas back in the day because Max Kellerman is a good friend of mine. And when we worked together, he was doing HBO boxing at the time. Asian Draymond, Jim Thorpe was the greatest American athlete ever. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I just don't. I don't have a frame of reference for Jim Thorpe, so I'm not going to slander him, nor am I going to agree. Kyle says, good for you, Tobin, Robin. It sounds like a Hobbit name. John, I don't know what he was referencing, but thank you. John Napolitano. Taking Michael Jordan as he was the most athletic and clutch player ever. No one went to the whole like MJ to 6 championships. That steals it for me. I do respect your opinion though. Well, I respect your opinion as well. By the way, yeah. Let me just say this in the Jordan LeBron debate: believing that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time is a perfectly reasonable opinion. I am not like I really feel like most of the time it actually only goes one way, which because people get so caught up in the legend, I guess, if you will. Basil, dude, you hate watch me or what? I'm pretty proud that I've been able to stay in this business for 20 something years and then now become my own business after 20 years in the corporate business. So take that. What up, Bryce? Element Gold, I'm with John. MJ accepted and played to the theatrical of being he didn't shy from the moment he created it. LeBron doesn't shy from the moment. LeBron is as clutch as anyone who's ever lived by any statistical measure. Asian Draymond again. You're wrong. Michael Jordan won 6 rings before the super team era, and he played pro baseball too. If LeBron quit to go play baseball, do you know how much he'd be scrutinized? And by the way, how many playoff series did Michael Jordan win without Scottie Pippen? I think you're talking about Clark when you say the Cleese, or is that Clark and Reese? I've given you the Clark and Reese talk by now. LeBron didn't play in college, Uncle J.E. The people that are holding, the winning it. I've literally never heard college brought up in a basketball player argument until Caitlin Clark, ever. Like, in fact, I think people tried to stand for Carmelo in the Rookie of the Year debate back in the day because he won a championship at college. But for the most part, college accomplishments have never been brought up in any basketball debate I've ever been a part of until Caitlin, because you knew people were desperate for something to argue against her. Kobe's your favorite player? R.I.P. Kobe Bryant. Alvin's favorite as well. Enrique and Caitlin should be on that team. And Angel and Gray. I agree. Those 4. And I would say Agumake too. They look like 5 of the best players they look like 5 of the 12 best players in the world to me. To me. Cheryl Miller was entertaining as a coach. I'll give you that as well. For sure. Definitely. Bo, it's funny because for all the criticism of Christy Side, the difference between one of the big differences, and this is a huge difference between Cheryl Miller and Christy Sides, is like Cheryl Miller is just much more personable, and that goes a long way. Because if Christy Sides had said what Cheryl Miller said in that game, people would have gone absolutely insane. They would be calling for her head. Because Cheryl Miller was like, I don't know what I'm doing. If Christy Sides had said that, people would be losing their mind. Kayla says, I'm worried next year's WNBA All-Star is going to be a letdown. There won't be the competitive aspect like this year. Perhaps. I mean, that was a confluence of factors. Was a confluence of factors that led to that. Katie says, do you think it's possible that the Women's USA team doesn't win gold this year? Didn't they almost lose to Belgium recently? Well, look, I looked at their results earlier today from last Olympics, and they weren't particularly threatened. But there were a couple games that were, within 10 points or so. And I don't want to say it's impossible because of the arrogance, it seems to me, of the formation of this team. Yeah, and they did barely win against Belgium, 81-79 in February. It looks like. I have to look at the context of that, but I think the whole reality is coming narrative. Look, they're a little slow. The U.S. women's team is a little slow. They don't have their best athletes. They don't have their best guards. So on a good night from another team and a bad night from them, I think it's possible they get got. Nanpo P90 says, do you think a Team USA versus Team NBA All-Star Game would be the same as the WNBA, or men not take it seriously? I mean, look, I think the men have kind of thrown it in the garbage. It's a shame. But there's also not the same, doesn't seem like politics involved with the USA selection versus, just Jaylen Brown trying to get their ass, but not like, clearly Arike had something to prove on top of Caitlin. Angel and Cece did play well together. LJN, is Clark's three-point shooting going to get back where it was? She was 0-7 in the All-Star game. Yeah, I'm not really worried about it. Look, I think a break can help her. And also, at the same time, shooters go through slumps. It's part of shooting. If it extends for an entire season, sure, it's part. But because she missed some shots in the All-Star game, I'm not too concerned about that. Sir Lewis Hamilton, greatest British athlete. That's AJ's guy. He loves him some Sir Lewis Hamilton. I don't know. Where else we got? Samantha, aside from Reese, who was your favorite player to see CC play alongside? Anyone you wish was her teammate? Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who could be 3 and D. Gray is up there. Agumake is up there for sure. Jonquel Jones would be a menace with Caitlin. The way she can screen, finish, and shoot. Like if you could play Jonquel and Aaliyah up front with a real swing player, and then Caitlin and Kelsey, that'd be scary. So let's say it was Caitlin, Kelsey, Alicia, Jonquel, and AB. But I would say Alicia Gray, Nneka Ogwumike, Jonquel Jones. And Arike too. But Arike's, I don't say this as a diss, but Arike's just more of an ISO player. Like that's what she does. She doesn't really need chemistry or to be fed. She's going to take care of herself. Space Karen, I did actually watch Jordan play. Sorry to break it to you. Roger Brown with a reasonable comment. Yeah, right, Alvin? I saved that clip. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm having fun. That was Cheryl Miller. If Christy Sides had said that, people would be apocalyptic in this. Apoplectic, sorry, in this chat. Dark Boson 369. CC, Sabrina, Stewie, Reese, and Asia will be the starting 5 for the 2028 Olympic team. That's pretty good. Though you're a little big. I mean, I guess you can get by with being big. But that's not a bad 5. I actually, if you're saying Arike, I think I actually think Arike is more Kobe-esque, and players like that to get. I think Kennedy Carter reminds me more of Iverson. Caitlin's shooting slumps could be due to tired legs or burst eardrum. Look, I think tired legs for sure. And then shooting slumps happen. It's nothing looks very off with her jumper to me. Doesn't look like her form is broken. JJ is elite. Katie says, I think the USA-Belgium game was won by a last-second tip-in by Stewart. I think they will take this loss. And look, if that's It's an interesting story if they lose. Brandon Sleep says, you see the Mercury players trying to tamper and get Caitlin to come to Phoenix. I've seen a lot of that. What exactly happened there? You guys have to fill. What's Caitlin's contract status? I don't know. I don't think Caitlin Clark is leaving the Indiana Fever anytime soon, guys. What's her? They gotta, some of the stuff that you have access to, they gotta boost it up on the women's side of things. Caitlin's under contract for years, people. Let's not do this. Let's not turn it into that nonsense WNBA or NBA stuff about like talking about people leaving. Kevin Zwicker's channel right there. You see the link. Monday Night Raw tonight. It was funny to see the defense on Caitlin. I've got a video of that below on the channel. Well, I mean, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that her legs could be tired because she's played from Iowa to now and played the biggest condensed schedule, and that's just natural. But I also said like shooting slumps. It's not. It's not that deep. We don't have to like nitpick over everything. How could she be? I'm looking at her. What's her contract? Caitlin Clark contract. From my understanding, according to Spotrac here, she signed a 4-year deal. And it's a club option in 2027. She could be a restricted free agent in 2028. She's locked up this year, next year, the year after, with a team option the year after that. Not a free agent until 2028. Unless there's something I'm not understanding. That's what it looks like to me. Yes, it won't affect the current contracts. It'll affect the next wave of contracts. The CB, everybody's going to get paid more. Hey, this guy actually agrees with me on something. Yeah, I mean, they just ran Caitlin into the ground at the beginning of the season. Oh, is that when she said she had a mic on? You understand the new bargaining agreements? So you're talking in complete hypotheticals versus me talking with what exists. Yeah. Yes, this is true. Everybody in the WNBA is going to be paid a lot more than they've been paid up until this point. A lot more. And again, I don't think Clark is leaving the Fever. I don't think it's good either. Why do we want her off the Fever? What is wrong with the Fever? Like, is the Fever that bad a situation? They got other All-Stars. They got 2 other All-Stars already. She's a rookie. They're going to the playoffs in her first year. They're going to the playoffs in her first year. She gets to play with Aaliyah Boston, who's a perfect complement to her on the court, and her new bestie. Kelsey Mitchell is great off of those two. They just got to build up the rest of the roster around that core of 3. The GM and the coach can be determined going forward. That's not GMs and the coach change all the time. Y'all got to relax. It's been a great season for Caitlin Clark so far. And the Indiana Fever. Y'all got to calm down. I don't believe you have a girlfriend. Exactly. Relax. Calm down. William H. is right. She's going to win a championship with the Fever. Rookies can tear up their contract with the new agreement. Rookies become free agents. She can take Boston and pick her. Guys, the fan fiction needs to stop. Stop. Take a breath. Take a breath. Right? Who doesn't want to see Caitlin and Aaliyah play together? Jay Lucas, Iverson went to the Olympics in 2004. They lost and ended with bronze. I'm aware. I talked about that at the top, bro. Iverson, Duncan, you know, they were Iverson and Duncan were the faces of that team. Yes, fan fiction element gold. Until you can present to me a scenario that you're not making up out of your head that is written on paper by a writer or in the CBA, then I have to call it fan fiction. Like, I see a lot of laughing emojis. Which one was it when I told bro he didn't have a girlfriend? Claudina Scragg, I think some people will like to go to Indy after her last performances in the All-Star Game. JJ reaction does show she impressed a lot of players. Of course. Of course. You can't, her game's undeniable. Dude, I keep telling you this. I looked at here is the link to Caitlin. It's not about arguments. I'm not arguing anything. It's about what her freaking contract says. It's in the chat. That is Caitlin Clark's contract status. This is a good question. Who would be your perfect starting five for a team built around CC? Okay, let's go. Caitlin, Aaliyah. I got to give Aaliyah the credit. No. I'll remove fever players. This will make it more interesting, okay? Because that way I don't play favorites and I'm not. I'll go Asia, Jonquel, Alicia Gray, Arike Ogunbowale, Caitlin Clark. That would be my five. If they want to win, Obosi says, found women's basketball because of Clark, stayed because of Angel and LSU, love it because of the Sky, especially Carter. They are all great players. May it continue. Well, Asia is a fit with, I can't tell you whether Asia wants to play with Caitlin or not, but she is absolutely a fit. First of all, Asia's a fit with anybody, but second of all, her and Clark would be amazing together. Like, just from a basketball standpoint. Perfect fit. Because Asia can really, you got to remember, Asia can really run the floor, and she can really shoot the ball. I mean, they could just be messing around too. You're talking years and years. I don't want to do this with the WNBA. Like, it's one of my least favorite things about the NBA now is like the first thing we always do is look for where somebody's going to play next. Like, come on. Jonquel can play. I mean, Jonquel's a big girl, strong, and she can shoot. I mean, she might be you could argue Jonquel's the number one pick to play with Caitlin from a compatibility standpoint, based on what she could do as a screener, what she could do as a finisher, and what she could do as a shooter. Is Angel's shooting percentage? I think their shooting percentage is actually the same, buddy. But I'm not doing, like, can we stop? No more Caitlin Clark, Angel, Reese wars. Stop. Look, Caitlin's going to win the Rookie of the Year. It is what it is. But Angel in a normal year would win the Rookie of the Year. She's had a terrific year. There's no reason to pit them against each other anymore, other than when they play each other. But let me, like, just for factual correctness, Caitlin is shooting 40.5% from the floor. Angel Reese is shooting 40.2% from the floor. So Caitlin Clark is shooting better than Angel from the floor, despite taking shots from further away. So if we're gonna bring things to the table, let's be accurate with our information. Is that too much to ask? Be accurate. It's not a narrative. I just gave you the facts. The stats are not a narrative. They are the recorded numbers. Caitlin Clark is currently top 20 in the WNBA in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. She is number 1 in assists, and she is number 1 in total points generated. Angel should have a better shooting percentage. She'll get there. And by the way, when she misses, she cleans it up herself, which is a good thing. People act like that's a bad thing. It's a good thing for Angel to get her own misses. It's a good thing. She gets another opportunity, her team gets another possession. It's okay. Timothy, Angel, Caitlin she can get her shot off. She can defend. She's top 15 in steals and blocks. Like, this is ridiculous. Y'all got to stop. Yes, she's number 1 in turnovers. Who gives a flying? Who cares? LeBron James is the all-time leader in turnovers. Luka Doncic led the NBA in turnovers. If you subtract Caitlin's turnovers from her assists, she would still lead the league in assists. Like, enough. Enough. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. All right. That's what I had for today, guys. Any other comments? You can roll them in. If you look at her turnover to assist ratio, it's actually way better than the other guards. Yeah, okay, let's compare her to the WNBA, buddy. Caitlin Clark is going to break the all-time assist record for a season this season. Not for a rookie, for anyone. This season, she's going to have more assists than any player has ever had this season. Stop hating. Let it out of your heart. William H. Films. All top 5 leaders in turnovers are Hall of Fame players in the NBA and the WNBA. Thanks for popping in, Shapiro Productions. My goodness. Whew. Well, that was fun. Well, I just got to clean up the beard too. But I've liked it. It's like this is my new career phase look. I got to clean it up. Like, it's a little too disheveled at the moment, but I've always had a clean face. And now I've got I've been through some stuff. AJ Schreiber, Caitlin Clark, Apex Predator, like Randy Orton. RKO from CC. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. It's actually hard to get me to rant too. I'm not much of a ranter, but I think I brought it today. I'm not putting the negative Angel Reese comments up either. Angel Reese is a very good basketball player, valuable basketball player. She has some flaws, sure, but she is a good player. And I'm not taking cheap shots at Angel to boost up Caitlin. Rants make you laugh. That's good. Oh, because of the gray? I didn't get it at first. Max was great to me when I was younger. I was an intern on Around the Horn back in the day, and then I worked on his show IMAX, and I worked on his radio show. In fact, I actually lived with him for a few weeks when I first got to the city. And I watched the last time I saw Max was LSU Iowa this last tournament. I watched that game with him, and I remarked while we were watching that game, I said, isn't it crazy that we're watching the game and it's women's basketball? CC does get blitzed and face guarded more than anybody in the league. That is correct. Yes, all of the great players turn the ball over. Ernesto says to breathe before I Hulk out. I literally had somebody on the radio the other day tell me, if you remove Curry's three-point shooting, what is he? I'm like, yeah, you remove the Hulk's strength. What is he? Bosie says, Robin, keep going. Just be fair and balanced. This channel will be a go-to. I appreciate that. I do my best on that, and I've noticed people say that. Real quick on the wrestling from Alvin, Bobby leaving. I think it sucks we never got Bobby versus Tribal Chief. You know, Bobby Lashley is he looks like an action figure. He's got a great look, but he just doesn't have enough. He doesn't have charisma or the mic presence to me. I hope he has a great rest of his career, but I don't think WWE is going to miss him all that much, to be real with you. Yeah, CC cooks at least one guard a game. That's true. Janelle says, thanks for being insightful and for not yielding to Carnival Barker drama. Yours is my last subscription to CC stuff. Thank you. But I say that and I mean it. Thank you, because I do my damn best, and it's nice to see it recognized. I saw somebody else with a comment about my background. I don't know, a couple of these. Bomani, I've met Bomani twice, I believe. Once was hanging out with him, Pablo Torre, and Max, and it was a cool, fun day. I think we were watching football that day. By the way, fantasy football, if you want to play against me in fantasy football, click below. The other time I was in the same place as Bomani, and now this was not deliberate, but I was making my debut on Mike and Mike. I was guest hosting Mike and Mike. And it just happened to be a day that Bomani was also in studio. And he wore that Caucasian shirt with the Indians logo on it. But it was a white. I forget basically it was a play on the fact that the Indians logo was mad racist, just like the way it looked. And it said Caucasians across it. So it caused this whole stir fire, like people were writing about it. So my debut on Mike and Mike didn't get much attention because Bomani wore the Caucasian shirt that day. Around the Horn and PTI were conjoining studios. So it was PTI in one room and Around the Horn in the other room. In fact, I got Tony Reali's suit the first day he ever hosted Around the Horn. Max had a dental emergency, and I think it was a dental. For whatever reason, he had to call out the day of, and they needed a host. And, Tony was literally... Statboy was like a created character for that show. Like, it was like a bit. It wasn't like he wasn't supposed to be on camera. His actual job was the statistician for the show. But because he was on camera, they were like, oh, let's go to him. And so that day I had to run to his apartment, grab his suit to bring it back. And then when Max left and took a bunch of the staff with him, myself included, Reality was supposed to be the temporary host. And then they just never hired another host, and the rest is history. Well, look, dude, again, you stop being dense. No one's saying teams shouldn't guard Clark that way. But in guarding Clark that way, it shows the respect they have for her game, the attention she commands as a player, and her greatness. I mean, let's not be ridiculous. Team USA has one point guard and she's still hobbled. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea Gray, I don't think is fast enough either. Asia has been boosting rebounds the last few games. Look, I mean, Asia's the MVP right now, but I think Caitlin has the best chance at finishing second. And if anyone's going to catch her, I think it's Caitlin. But Asia's going to win. My awards, WNBA Olympic Break Awards, in the comments or in the description as well. All right, y'all. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all the interaction as always. And until next time. Peace.